We are now in the fourth ikar, the fourth foundation of the entire religion. We spoke about the first three, and as we also mentioned that every foundation is built on all of the first 1, 2, 3. You cannot get to the fourth unless you have the first three foundations. The foundation that the Rambam considers is the fourth ikar, or in some prayer books, it's Ani Ma'amin, that many people say in the morning, before Shachris, after Shachris. There are 13 Ani Ma'amins, which is all based on Rambam's Yud Gimel Ikrim that he wrote in Pirush HaMishnayos in the Masechta Sanhedrin. What is the fourth ikar? That Hashem is the first and the last, based on a pasuk where Hashem says, Ani Rishon va'ani Achron. On a very simple level, it means that we believe that Hashem was the first before anything else, and he also is the last, which means everything else will change or deteriorate or disappear, but Hashem always exists. Ani Rishon va'ani Acharon. And we're going to discuss today how Hasidus explains this fundamental principle, and it's much, much deeper than on the surface. First of all, we have to understand that to call Hashem the first is not so simple, because when you say the first, he's number one, you could imply that there's a number two. Hashem he's not the number one of everything. He's beyond. You can't even call him number one. In matter of fact, Mefarshim ask, when we say the Shema and we say Hashem Echad, the commentaries question, why should we call him Echad, which God forbid could imply that there is a Sheni and he's only the number one? And there's answers, but the point is, Hashem is infinitely more than he's number one. So what does this really mean? Ani Rishon, I am the first. So let's first speak about something that the Rambam talks about, and he calls Hashem in Hebrew Mechuyev HaMetzias. Hashem's existence has to be. Every other existence does not have to be. It only exists because Hashem decided to create it to be. But it doesn't have its own existence. It's not something that has to be. On the contrary, What makes it a be? There has to be a creator to create it. However, when we talk about Hashem, his existence has to be. It's not dependent on something. It's not, his existence is something that must be. Everything else besides Hashem is called Efshar HaMetzius. There's a possibility that it could exist, but it doesn't have to exist. And every second, although Hashem does create the world, but it doesn't mean that he created something that has to be. It doesn't, every second it does not have to be, and every second Hashem has to make from nothingness into a being. This really is not only about the physical world. The physical world has a beginning. The beginning is when Hashem decided to create the world. So it has a beginning. Everything that Hashem created, if it's souls, if it's angels, if it's spiritual worlds, everything is only something that can be, but doesn't have to be. Hashem needs to create it. There's no existence outside of Hashem that has to exist. So when we say Hashem is the first, we're saying something much deeper. We're saying he is the cause of everything. Everything needs a cause to create it. So it has a beginning because on its own, it does not exist. It begins when Hashem wills it. So every moment that the world is in existence, it's really not a real existence. It's an existence because God actively chooses to create that to be in existence. So this idea that Hashem is the first, we mean to say he is the cause of everything. The Rambam himself, in the beginning of his great work, Mishnah Torah, very clearly, right in the beginning, smack in the first words of the Rambam, he says this, that the Eibishter, Hashem, his metzius, his existence has to be, and everything else is only existing because someone like Hashem makes it exist. Another point. The Rambam says, this is what he says in the Guide for Perplex, everything that has a beginning has an end. Everything that Hashem created, which is everything, has to have an end. And I think we mentioned that earlier. Not only does everything that has a beginning have an end, but it's constantly deteriorating, heading towards the end. When we say, in the words of the Rambam, Hashem is the first and he is the last, what it means is that Hashem never ceases to exist. Where everything else does cease to exist. If it has a beginning, it's going to have an end. one more point. Because Hashem doesn't have a beginning, because his existence is from himself, automatically he has no end. It's not two separate points, that Hashem doesn't have a beginning and Hashem doesn't have an end. If we understand that he doesn't have a beginning because he always was, because his existence is not dependent on anything he is because he is, then automatically he will never have an end. We need to talk for a while about the whole idea of time, which we touched on this before, but it's very important to talk about this once again. Every day in the Shachris prayers, we say, Uvetuvo, in your kindness, out of your kindness, Mechadesh, you renew, Bechol Yom Tamid, every day you renew the Maaseh Bereshis, what you created on the first 6 days of creation. We say in our prayers, it's set in the prayers, you renew the Maaseh Bereshis constantly. And we spoke about this already before, that every second the world on its own does not exist, totally not, which means on its own it's a non-existence, and Hashem has to every second take it out of non-existence to existence. When we say this in davening, I don't know what kind of sidurim everyone has, but in the siddur that I pray in, it says the following: You are mechadesh b'chol yom tamid Maaseh Bereshis, and then we reference to a pasuk in the Tehillim to confirm that it's true that way, because the Torah says so. What sentence do we use? Le'oisei oirim gidolim ki la'olam chazdai. This is a capital in Tehillim. There are 26 times Ki L'Olam Chazdai that we say on Shabbos davening. You say it at the Seder table. There are 26 different kindness that is forever. One of those sentences, it says, Le'oisei oirim gedolim. You make, not just you made in past tense, you are making the Oirim Gedolim, the sun, the moon, the stars. You are constantly making them. So that is the reference that Hashem is mechadesh every second Maaseh Bereshis. It's a clear sentence in the Torah, in the Tehillim, which is the Torah. However, we spoke about this, and we need to talk about this again. Not only does Hashem recreate the world every second, but Hashem recreates the energy that Hashem has that creates the world, which are the Asara Mamoros, the 10 sentences that it says in the Torah in the beginning of Bereshis. Hashem said, let there be light, let there be a sky. Those sentences Hashem has to renew not only the world, he has to renew that energy. And we mentioned this last week, that is where time was created. The whole idea of time that we live in a world that is measured by time and space. What is time? Time means something changed. It's not like a moment ago. If the world would stay the same constantly, there wouldn't be such a thing as time, because time is a way of measuring changes. There's a before and there's an after. If things always stay the same, then how is there time? So we spoke about this last week, I believe, that time is changes because the energy itself changes. Every moment, Hashem creates the world with a new energy that is not the same energy as a second ago. In matter of fact, you might appreciate this, that the first Lubavitcher Rebbe, the Baal HaTanya, he was so tuned in to the energies of the world that he didn't need a clock, he didn't need any kind of a mechanism. He knew and felt the energy of that moment, and that's how he knew what time it is. Because really, time is different energies. So when we talk, let's go back now to Hashem. When we say he is the first, it also includes that he is the cause of time. He is the first, meaning time alone needs to be created. And Hashem is above that too. He is the one who creates time. If that is the case, then this foundation that Hashem is the first and Hashem is the last implies deeper and deeper that he is the first, he is the cause of time. So in Hashem's reality, time it's just a creation. He is above that. It is more than saying Hashem is eternal. In theory, something could be eternal, but has a beginning. Let me give you an example. The stars, the planets, Hashem made purposely. He made that the planets do not change, do not deteriorate. They are they always are around without a change. But they have a beginning. It's when Hashem willed to create the planets. So here you have an example that you could have something that's eternal but has a beginning. The beginning is when Hashem willed it to create it. But we are saying Hashem is more than eternal. He is the beginning, the cause of everything, which is much higher and greater than just saying he's eternal. He has no beginning because he is who he is, and he makes everything happen. So let's go on and continue. The same idea that Hashem is the beginning, the cause of everything. Let's try and take this a step higher. Every idea, even the idea of eternity, any idea that we could use, what we could imagine is something so valuable. That in itself is a creation. That is one of the reasons that we have no way to describe Hashem. It's very interesting. You find this in the Gemara. The Gemara says that Hashem, that we have no right to add in the Shmoneh Esrei any title more than what the Anshe Knesset Hagdola made to say in davening. Why not? Why can't you add? You have a feeling you would like to add, he's this and he's that. So the Gemara explains, you can, whatever you'll say is like an insult, because he's infinitely more than that. So not only are you're not doing any service to Hashem, but in a sense, you're saying something which it's an insult, because whatever you'll say is meaningless compared to the greatness of Hashem. So what the Torah says that Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, whatever we know that this is what the Torah called Hashem, so that's not our titles. This is a title that Hashem made. But Hashem has no description, because whatever you're going to say is a creation, a concept, is a created concept. For sure, as I mentioned earlier, when we call Hashem the Creator, what could be a greater title than that? And Chassidus says, Chas v'sholem, to define Hashem as the Creator. For him to create is nothing. Because every title, whatever we will say about Hashem, is a definition. And that definition itself is a creation. Hashem created that definition, but he's beyond any definition. Let's go further and let's take it deeper. The fact that Hashem is infinite and his energy is infinite is still not saying anything. Whatever you will say, you are saying something, a definition, which is a finite definition. How could you define something that is truly infinite? One of the things that we do say is we call Hashem HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But Kadosh Baruch Hu is really not a definition. Matter of fact, when you say HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you're really saying in Chinese that he doesn't have a definition. Because the word Kadosh means he is removed from any title. So it's just important for us to know that when we say HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's not a definition. It's saying that he's above every definition. He's Kadosh. Kadosh means he's removed, exalted from everything. That is where the name in Yiddish that many Jews refer to Hashem, the Oibeshter. If you're familiar with this Yiddish word, the Oibeshter, it sounds like the one above. But we have to crystal what that means. He's above every kind of any kind of definition. So that's what it means. Not Oibishter, he's upstairs. He's above every definition. Then comes the question, then how come, and we talked about this, we have to go it over again, how come we find so many places in the Torah where we call Hashem the merciful, the kind, the strong? So we explained this already before, that Hashem set up a system of attributes that he reveals himself to us through these attributes. So when he gives us kindness, when we receive kindness, we call him the kind God. But he didn't turn now emotionally kind. He's the same God always. But when you are answered through the attribute of kindness, it's just like when you are looking in a glass from the outside of the glass, and there's a light shining, and to you, the light looks yellow or green because the window is green. The light is the same, but your glass is green. So to you, it will look like the light is green. Hashem does not have any form whatsoever, but he relates to us. That means we will receive a finite answer through those attributes. This is all for our good, because if not, we couldn't even get anything from Hashem, because it's so infinite and so simplistic. How will it come down to my needs? I have to pay the money, I have to pay the bank, or pay the groceries. So I need a finite kindness, which will materialize into money or whatever. So we always have to remember this. Whenever we call Hashem, you're kind, you're strong, you're wise, it's not he. He doesn't change. He always is the same. But he relates to us that we will receive, depending on our behavior, depending on our prayers, depending on so many different things, we will receive our answer through those attributes. But it's he who answers us. We discussed last week, and I have to go back again because it's very much connected. What is the whole idea of a yontif? What is a yontif? A yontif means that day in the calendar. Let's take Pesach. On the 15th day of Nisan, the first time that Hashem took us out of Mitzrayim was on the 15th day of Nisan. It was a tremendous revelation. God did beyond the miracles, taking us out of Mitzrayim, killing the Egyptians, the firstborn. Unbelievable miracles. Says the Torah, every year, when it comes that day, we have to celebrate. So on the surface, it sounds like, yeah, it's a good thing to remember what happened on that day. But Hasidus says It's not that you're celebrating what happened then. This day on the calendar, it happens again. The same revelation that was on the 15th of Nisan, the first Pesach, every year, on that day, that revelation reoccurs. So we're not celebrating something that happened. We are celebrating what's going to happen or what's happening today. But the question, as we mentioned last time, there's no time up there. How could you say 50? What means 15th day of Nisan? There's no time. So how could you say that this happens on this time? Even on the first Pesach, when it happened in a certain time, the revelation is not connected to time. So how does these two things work? It is the time and it's not the time. What's going on? This is so important because we have to understand that time is very valuable on this world. Hashem who is beyond time, locked himself into time. There are certain mitzvahs that only could be observed at a certain time. You miss that time, you don't have the mitzvah. Now, this doesn't make any sense. If Hashem is beyond time, why do I have to do this on a certain time? Let's take the Shema. Everyone knows that the Shema in the morning has to be said at a very specific time when people get up. And there's a certain time every day it changes according to sunrise. To what time is the Zman to say the Shema? You say it 2 minutes after the Zman, you didn't say the Shema, you didn't keep the mitzvah. And the same goes for Ma'ariv. It has to be at a certain time. Shabbos, you have to keep Shabbos on Shabbos. And if you keep Shabbos on Sunday, it's not Shabbos. Hashem locked himself into time.
You're trying to get rid of it.
Yeah, I did. I told her I don't think I could do it for a reasonable price. Just all the time and work.
Chaim,
I wrote that. I wrote a few of those.
Chaim and Perry, could you put the mute button on? Okay. So what am I saying? Hashem, who is beyond time, purposely connected himself to time because then we could elevate time too. If the mitzvahs would not have a certain time, then it's something that Hashem created that doesn't have a hope, doesn't have something, it can never become holy. It's irrelevant. Hashem made known every detail of this world, you can turn it into holy, from mundane to holy. How does that work? If he locks up mitzvahs in time, that it could only be that time and not another time, then suddenly time becomes a part of the mitzvah. So not only are you elevating yourself, not only are you elevating, let's say, the food, if you make a bracha and you eat it to have strength to serve Hashem, you elevate time. Because on this time, you observe the mitzvah that you couldn't do it not on that time. So time becomes an ingredient of the mitzvah. So let's go back now to the idea of a yontif. What enters into the yontif, into that time, is an energy that has nothing to do with time. but it enters into this world when that specific time takes place, which is very, very interesting. So it's something that is beyond time, but it connects to us only in a certain time. And therefore, it's possible that in one country, the Yontif will be to us a day later or a day earlier, because it enters into each and every country according to that time of that country. But what enters? The Yontif, the holiness of the Yontif, that is beyond time. So in this, just to clarify, we have to be ready to understand both sides of the coin. When we say Hashem is Ani Rishon, he is beyond even time. He's the cause of time. But at the same time, he made time a reality to him, that he will not reveal this Yontif, let's say, only on that specific time. I hope I clarified this whole ikar, to remember that this is a foundation in the whole religion, to understand that Hashem's being is the cause of everything. And therefore, everything, every second is pending. If Hashem will make it a reality, it's reality. And if Hashem doesn't want, then automatically there's no reality. This is for today. And if anyone has any questions or would like to ask something, please feel free to ask.
Yeah, I have two questions. That's okay?
Yes.
First of all, according to the things you say, first question is that we have commanded to know Hashem, right? We have to learn and know Hashem to our greatest abilities. And after that, we have to believe. But on the other hand,
before you go any further, I must clarify, because there could be a little bit of a misunderstanding. We're never trying to understand who is God. That is a waste of time, because it's impossible and we don't have such a mitzvah. In Hebrew, there are two different words, mehus and mitziut. Mehus means, what is it? Mitzius means, I don't know what it is, but I know that it is. The fact that it is. We do not have a mitzvah to understand who is God. Impossible. Don't even try. But we have a mitzvah to learn about him. It's a very big difference. We could learn and learn and learn more about him. His greatness, that he's eternal, that he's infinite, that he's... You could keep on going and going, learning about him. But to find out who is he, forget it. Let me give you an example. We all know that we have a soul. We could prove it logically. The difference between a person who is alive and a person who is dead is that the soul of a person leaves the body. So that means he's dead. So there's a lot of clear, logical, there gotta be such a thing as life in a person. No one ever tried to figure out So what is a soul? Good luck. How could we have no tools? But we know a lot of things about the soul. It has intellect, it has emotion, it has thought and speech. We could learn from today till forever about the soul. At the same time that we could learn about the soul, we're not even going there. But what is a soul? This is very important for all of our listeners today. We don't have a mitzvah to understand who he is. We have a mitzvah to learn about him. Why? Because the more you will learn about him, the more fascinated you will be, and you could fall into love with Hashem. You could have an awe to Hashem. There's tremendous benefits in learning about him. And Hashem wants us to do that. It's a mitzvah. The Rambam considers that the first mitzvah. But that's only about him. I hope I'm making this clear, Meryl.
Yes, yes.
But this is so important because just last night I was somewhere, I had a Farbrengen last night, and that was exactly the question. He said, well, we're never going to figure him out anyway, so why do we stop? The answer is, you're right. We never try to figure out who he is. But we are now wasting our time. The more we learn about him, we do gain more and more knowledge about his greatness. Okay. Next,
Okay,
what was the second question?
The second question was that we in our culture, our upbringing, see time as a progression, right? It's not, each minute it's going somewhere. There are places in the world they don't see that, but we in our thoughts see a progression. In fact, we say there's Yeridata Dorot, there's changes that go on. And hopefully we believe that these changes are bringing us to the ultimate, that Mashiach should come and the world should get its perfection, right? But
Yeah.
there's a progression within
Yes,
time.
1,000,000%. But that progression doesn't have to mean time. We're progressing in bringing holiness to the world. Every moment, there's more mitzvahs, there's more Torah. Let's just talk, we didn't even talk about this yet. A bracha, the value of just a bracha. Hasidus explains that the word baracha does not mean you're blessing God. Are you out of your mind? You are blessing God. Baracha really means just the opposite. You're drawing God down to you or to the world. Every time we make a bracha, if it's on a glass of water, a glass of milk, an apple, a fruit, every time you make a bracha, you add holiness, revelation to this world. In matter of fact, we all know this. The Gemara says, whoever says in Kaddish, answers Kaddish, it says, Yehei Shmei Rabba Mevorach. He could destroy 70 years of decrees just by saying Yehei Shmei Rabba. Why? Just took me a second to say these words, Yehei Shmei Rabba, and I could change 70 years. The answer is, when you utter the words Yehei Shmei Rabba, that the great name of Hashem, the infinite God's name, should be mevorach, should be come down. Soon as you say that, that's exactly what happens. You're doing it. You're bringing out to this world the Shmei Rabbah, the infinite energy of Hashem, you draw it down, le'olam ule'olmei almaya, means all the three worlds, all the way down, from way up, all the way down, just by saying Yehei Shmei Rabbi. So it's very interesting. Every mitzvah, every bracha, everything that we do, we're adding new energy that the world never had. And we're getting closer and closer to Mashiach. The computer system upstairs is working very fine. And we don't know how it works, but nothing is forgotten. Every word, every bracha, all is this accumulative, till this will finally make the big push. The Mashiach will come. What does means Mashiach will come? Suddenly the lights will open up. It's like somebody's going to turn on the lights, and we're going to see that it's all Hashem. Till now, it's in the books. But one the good day will come. We're going to see it with our own eyes. We're going to feel it with our heart. So we are progressing every second.
Well, we still do connect it with the years. Like we say that the world will live, it will exist for 7,000 years, and the 7,000th year is this Shabbat. So we do connect it, and the Rebbe had said, we are now in the prelude to the Shabbat. We make these
So
hachanot.
I mentioned earlier, time is a reality. Hashem made that reality. In our world that we are living in, time is very important. Like I said, so many mitzvahs are connected with time. There is a time in this world, which, let's call it this way, time is really a level. There's a level of the 6,000 years, then there's the 7,000 years. These are all different levels of spirituality. And on the level of the beginning of the 6,000 year, which means it becomes the beginning of the 7,000 year, it's a whole different kind of a world. So in time, there's going to be major changes. The whole world was created that Hashem wants to dwell down here, in time, in space. The same God who is beyond time and beyond space chose, we can't figure out why. There's no why. He chose his condominium, his favorite place is down here, in time, in space.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Chaim, do you have any questions?
Moshe.
Moshe.
Hi.
Yeah, Moshe.
I had, in our house, there was a guest on Shabbos who asked the question of me, and the question was, how do I know which way to go if I don't know which way to go? And I said to them, well, I'm going to think what Rabbi Gurary would tell you. And I gave them an answer. So now I'm
What's
curious.
the answer you gave him? Tell me the answer you gave him.
I really hear my answer? Okay.
Yeah, sure.
So I said, if you would go on an airplane and you would find out that the pilot didn't go to school and doesn't really know how to fly a plane, this is the first time, and he's trying his luck out, you would be going over to the stewardess and say, open the door, get me off of this plane. And I said, we're all in school, and you try to choose somebody to ask them that they know the way. but they too, they're still in school also. They keep learning all the time. The follow-up of the question was, but what if there isn't the pilot, there isn't anybody around, and I'm all alone and I don't know, what's the answer? So I said, that happened to me more than once, but one time somebody was asking me questions and it was way, way, way above my pay grade. I mean, way, way, I didn't have the kind of plights for this, And so I asked one of my teachers and he said, if there's no one else and you don't have a possibility to bring them to somebody, so just think to yourself, take a moment and just think, Ein od milvado, and try to just think about that when you answer their question. So that was the second part of it. Anyway, that's what I answered the person. So what would Rabbi Gurary say to
I would
this
say,
person?
with all due respect, Hashem gave us a manual. The pilot, if he doesn't have a manual, he is in the Haktatsoros. He has to have a manual. Which button and what does this button do? What does that button do? Hashem did not leave us in the fog. He gave us such clear instructions. The best manual that could be. Every aspect of life, the Torah has something to say, how to do it, what to do. The Torah covers from birth, from before birth until death and after death. There's no religion, there's no religion like it. The only religion that has something specific to say about everything in life is the Torah. There's nothing in life that the Torah doesn't discuss. The most mundane thing, like going to the bathroom. A Yid makes a bracha after he goes to the bathroom. And there's a Yid, how he acts in the bathroom. This Torah instructs us on every move in life. So therefore, the Torah is a way of life. Torah comes from the word a lesson. It's teaching us how to live. So when we don't need, as long as we have a Torah, we have a Shulchan Aruch, we're set to go. The Torah gives us advice of everything in life. We're so lucky. You know how lucky the Jewish people are? We are never in loss. We always have where to look and get guidance. Life, afterlife, everything is covered. And the one who made these instructions is Hashem. So we know it works. If somebody says, well, this manual is missing something, or it's maybe he's off. This manual came from Hashem. So it's 100% the truth. We have everything we need to live like a Jew. There's nothing uncovered or covered. Everything is clear. That's why Torah, it's called Torah Or. It's compared to light, that we're not in the dark. When you are in the dark, you could bump into a chair, into a table, a wall. You don't know where you're going. But if it's light, you see what to watch out, what's in front of you, what's in back of you. The Torah is a light for us, how to live and how to be grateful that if I follow this manual, I am connected to God for sure. Guaranteed by the Maker.
Right.
What do you
I
say,
hear
Chaim?
it. Yeah.
You have anything to say, Terry?
I second that.
Baruch Hashem.
Right? Baruch Hashem.
Well, I once asked a mashpia this question in some way, because I said, the Torah gives you very specific instructions, but there's still a lot of gray material on our everyday life. And her answer was, if it brings you closer to do a mitzvah, then that's the way. But if it's not, then give it up. And that's, for your day-to-day
That's
things. It's
very
simple.
good advice. And I want to just add another piece of advice. We have a Yetzer Tov and we have a Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara is really a sneaky character. He could come to us and come up with holy reasons and give you a reason why you shouldn't do a mitzvah. Maybe you're not ready yet, you should do it later, maybe give. The Yetzer Hara is a mamzer. You have to be a maven where it's coming from. How do I know from where is it coming from? Is it coming from the Yetzer Tov or if it's coming from the Yetzer Hara? So the Rabbi said this beautiful advice. What is the outcome from what's coming into your mind? To do or not to do? If it's not to do, it could be for the most holiest reason in the world, it's coming from the Yetzer Hara. If it's to do a mitzvah, then it's coming from the Yetzer Tov. This is so important. We always have questions, maybe, where is it coming from? Is it going to stop me from doing a mitzvah? Then it could be the most beautiful, happy, deep reason. It's coming from the slick Yetzer Hara. He knows a mitzvah, you do a mitzvah, it's done. No matter if you have ulterior motives, if you have, the meantime, it's a mitzvah. And you have a neshama, and deep down, you're doing it for the right reason. If you think you're doing it for an ulterior motive, that's your Yetzer Hara. But your neshama is 100% sincere. So anytime you have a question, should I do it? Should I not do it? And you have sometimes rationale, maybe you shouldn't do it. Guess what? It's coming from the Yetzer Hara. That's such a practical advice. Okay, I don't know if I answered your question. There are things that the Rebbe wanted that everyone should have a mashpia, to have somebody who is outside of you, who could think a little bit, because we love ourselves and sometimes we don't see things as clear because we are involved and we sometimes could fool ourselves. So it's always good to ask advice by somebody, but you have to hope that somebody learns more, knows more, is a God-fearing person, and he's saying what he knows from the Torah. If he's saying it from his own head, then I don't have what to hear from him. So you need to have somebody to turn to who is objective, who doesn't have your Yetzer Hara, and he could give you objective advice.
Thank you.
Everyone should be blessed. Now I want to make an announcement, a very important announcement. I'm, God willing, leaving this Wednesday to London, to Manchester, to Gateshead. So I won't be on air next week, Monday, because I'm in all over the place. But the following week, we will Mitzvah Hashem continue. So please hang in, and everyone should be blessed to have a wonderful Hanukkah, and the Hanukkah should give you light and warmth for the whole year.
Amen.
Sei gesund, everyone.
Thank you.
Sei gesund.
Yosher Koach.
Thank you.
Should be.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Sei gesund.